The Military Liberation Monument or Memorial is designed to celebrate the Army's 100-year history in San Diego and the liberation of the concentration camps in Germany and the role that the United States has played in preventing genocide worldwide. It's a memorial to celebrate life versus other memorials that celebrate people suffering. This is to celebrate the people who were liberated and how they moved on to better their lives and raise families, and that despite all the odds, they were able to succeed and live full lives. And that was only possible because of the United States military to go in and rescue the people who were doomed in concentration camps in Germany during World War II. Frank and I are both the sons of refugees. My mother was a refugee forced to leave Egypt in 1956 due to religious persecution. It was either leave Egypt or be incarcerated or much worse.
They started to push people out that they didn't want there. They blew up her school, so they had to flee. They stayed in Ethiopia for about 3 years in an internment camp. She met and married my father, who's Sicilian, and they were at a waiting game to see what country would take them, because as you see now, there's refugees standing at the border and they don't know where to go. It's not like you could just come here right away, right? Because there's a lot of people, like, you have to make sure that they're refugees and so forth. So they finally got the get on this plane and go. And the planes went different places. Whatever country would accept at the time, you just got on like destination unknown. They happened to be lucky and land in San Diego. And there's actually a picture of them walking down the stairs from a jet. So we didn't come up with it. This was from an idea somebody had, but they didn't know how to pursue it. Like, I want to build a memorial. I'm not sure what to do. Hey, the Powell Brothers are in real estate. Maybe they know about a spot that we can purchase. And we started getting into it that way. So the more we got into it, the more we realized, wow, this really does affect us. And this really is, we're born and raised in San Diego. We know there's an Army history, but if you ask anybody in San Diego, if they know that San Diego is really an Army town, they're going to say, no, it's a Navy town. I just went to a party on the Midway, right? And I just saw the two people kissing over here. I didn't see any Army guys. And so a lot of those people come, and the Army people who come here now, they go there and there's nothing for them. So we wanted to build it for them. That's how it all started. Now, the reason why we picked that spot is because that spot tells a story, right? And I'll tell you what the story is. You have this big aircraft carrier, like the Power, you know, because we're in war. So that was a Power. And then you come around and you start walking and you see the people that died. You know, you start to see these headstones and these statues. And then you go all the way to the final surrender, where the guy's he's so happy, he's kissing the nurse, and they're embracing and they're celebrating this victory. What was missing was the struggle. There's no struggle. Like, what represents the struggle? So we go, hey, let's put that piece of the pie right in the middle. So you go from power, sacrifice, struggle, end. So that's how we picked that spot, and it was for the greatest generation. That spot is for World War II vets. So we go, hey, let's make it similar to what they have. We'll put in some statues. We're going to get a design that shows power and struggle. How do we show power and struggle and the balance of life and death?
The Midway is toured by almost every school district. They send their kids there. And so if you send in your kids to the Midway anyways, and schools are on tight budgets, they don't have the resources to send their kids to the Midway and then send them to a memorial, that we thought, okay, when they come off the Midway and they come to this memorial, we want to explain to them how it was. So we designed a QR code. A QR code is called a quick reader code. And that QR code was linked to a series of videos that were dubbed in all different languages. So when you came to this memorial, like oftentimes you come to a memorial or a monument and you're like, well, what is it? I don't know these people. And unless you have a background, you wouldn't know. This, you just take your smartphone and you click the QR code, and it links to a video. So the students right there can watch a video that talks about what this symbolizes and what it means. So it was a huge educational piece, and it had a K-12 curriculum assigned to it. We thought about how can we help society, how can we help the world never forget that genocide occurred in 1945 and it continues to occur? That's not the last one. This was to talk about all genocide and respect all the people. It's just the Holocaust is the most famous one. The location seemed the most appropriate, but what we found kind of unusual was that the Port District just said no. They didn't say, here's another location, we would like to offer you this. We're a pretty big area. And they didn't say, we don't like the memorial, can we work on the design? Nothing. It was a straight no, and just get out of here. It was, and to have 2 congressmen approve it, the mayor, city council representatives, people from all walks of life. No one said this was a bad idea except for a subjective, arbitrary group of public art people that, with varied backgrounds. Like these 7 people actually stopped this, along with assistance from the Port Public Arts curator. They said the same thing about the kissing sculpture, which is one of the most photographed pieces of art, if they want to call it art, I mean it's art, in the city. Everybody wants to get a picture by the kissing statue, and they were just as adamant against not putting that in.
Well,
it's a very
the Midway too.
They didn't want the Midway. They had to fight for the Midway. Who's going to want to be on a big gray boat?
Yeah, it's going to be a big rust pile, and it's the #1 in.
Well, 1.4 million people visit it every year. So
it's a lot of people.
The Public Arts Committee has called it wrong multiple times, and we feel that they're calling it wrong this time. And in addition to that, when you look at all of the anti-Semitism that's going on, not only in San Diego but worldwide,
continues even after the Holocaust. I mean, there's always
and then you look at all the fighting that's going on. I mean, just Syria. Bashar al-Assad was killing his own people. I mean, it's a complete genocide. So it's not.
A lot of people would rather see. We had a structure that was maybe it was like a big piece of barbed wire bending. You guys saw it, right? And a lot of people like, hey, maybe you should put a butterfly or something, and just something where people like don't get so like whoa. And I can see that point, but you know what? The thing is, you got to put a little bit of ugly. You can't always have butterflies and flowers and like, oh, that's so beautiful. The waterfall's coming down. What does that represent? It's like people hardcore died, and it wasn't long ago. This is like not long ago. This is not in prehistoric times, right? 1940s, 50s. It's still, people have the tattoos. Army guys are still alive with their injuries and the PTSD that they used to call shell shock.
Well, if you hear about these young kids who they were holding a Coke can or something and doing the Hitler symbol, and it was Anne Frank's stepsister, who's in her 90s, spoke to them, and she said, I'm not upset at them, I feel sad for them, because essentially they don't know, because it's not being taught. They don't know what happened in Germany and how that affects people. And we wanted to do it while there's still some people alive. Like there's hardly any World War II vets left, and there's hardly any Holocaust survivors left. They're all in their 90s now. So
it's going to be erased off the face of the earth. That's what we're worried about. And like Mark said, we're not trying to highlight the Holocaust as much as we're trying to highlight genocide and what happens when countries don't get along and they can't figure stuff out. And there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes in today's world. I mean, we have the internet, we have this like global awareness, we have people that can talk, we have peace, we have the UN, and still people are killing each other. So every once in a while, you got to remember that this stuff happens, and maybe you'll take a stand. We don't want it to happen,